Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of the latest mission from NASA's Kennedy Space Center. I'm Will Robinson Smith, reporter with Spaceflight Now. So good to have you with us here on this Friday night. We're broadcasting, as we always do, from the Spaceflight Now News Bureau here at KSC. For those of you who were with us yesterday for one or both of the launches of either New Glenn and or the Atlas V. Certainly glad to see you once again for a pair of Falcon 9 rocket launches that we've got on tap for you tonight. First up is the flight of Falcon 9 rocket from Historic Launch Complex 39A here at the Kennedy Space Center. You're looking live at that Falcon 9, which is set to take off in, as you can see in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, T-minus 56 minutes, 42 seconds. It is the first of a pair of Falcon 9s lifting off from Florida's Space Coast. Peering over at Space Launch Complex 40 on the left-hand side of your screen is the other Falcon 9 rocket, the booster that will be flying for a 24th time tonight. The booster on the right is making its 8th trip to space and back. I know for those of you who popped over to SpaceX's launch page in the days leading up to today, in fact, in the hours leading up to today, it looks like there might be a possibility of a simultaneous launch, but as we got some more signs getting closer to the opening of the launch window tonight, it appeared as though these two missions were, in fact, very much not going to be launching simultaneously and drifted apart a little bit initially. Looked like there's a chance they might launch within the same hour, but as things currently stand, we're looking at a departure of the Starlink 6-89 mission, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. That's coming up first at 10:08 p.m. Eastern, 03:08 UTC. Then the mission on the left, Starlink 6-85, which is scheduled to lift off at 1:21 a.m. Eastern, or 06:21 UTC for our friends joining around the world. So like last night, it's going to be a bit of a long launch night for us here at the channel. So you can support our coverage with both of these missions. We'll have distinct live coverage for each, taking a bit of a breather in the middle. But if you go ahead and click the like button on the stream that you're watching at the time, of course, starting with this one, and if you'd be so kind as to lend us a like when you join us for the next stream, that would be greatly appreciated. Helps the YouTube algorithm do its thing. Let it know that y'all are here with us. It helps to bring in the coverage to more people as we progress through the countdown. Speaking of folks that are helping us progress through the countdown, big thanks to our moderators in the chat who are with us this evening. Got Astro Joe, Mark Otto, Rick Donner, Jeff Hansen on board here tonight. You can help make the job of the mods that much easier just by following the rules of the chat. We ask that you post your message in English so that our mods can respond as appropriate. Also, that you hold off from delving into over politics, religion. Emojis are perfectly fine in the chat. We just ask that you don't create a huge block of them so it takes up a large percentage of the live chat space. And last but certainly not least, we ask that you treat each other with the kindness and respect that you yourself would like to be treated. And we'll all get along swimmingly. Also with us tonight, one of our channel members, Cumulus Granatus, who's able to help answer folks' questions in the chat as we progress through the count. Speaking of channel members, this and every other live launch opportunity is made possible in no small part thanks to our wonderful community here on YouTube. So big thanks to folks like Bridget Schultz, Corey, Bill in Lauderdale, DB, Joni, Miles High, and many, many others. Channel membership comes with a number of perks, including discounts at our online shop, which is shop.spaceflightnow.com, access to member-only videos here on YouTube, access to our members-only Discord server, and of course, the ability to watch all of our live launch lift-off moments from here in Florida in 4K. And as you just saw with the split screen, we've got two of those on tap tonight, so double the 4K opportunities this evening. And as we get rolling with 52 minutes on the clock, certainly want to thank the more than 1,400 of you who are live with us at the top of the broadcast. A little bit of venting from the strong back. That's typical to see at this point in the countdown for Pad 39A launch. You can see the American flag blowing in the breeze from our camera's vantage point here at the Kennedy Space Center press site. Heading into this launch opportunity, the fine folks at the 45th Weather Squadron forecast a greater than 95% chance for favorable conditions at liftoff. Given that both of the Falcon 9 launches today are set to fly within the same 4-hour launch window of time, essentially the meteorologists issued an identical forecast across both mission opportunities, citing no issues with additional criteria or specific meteorological concerns heading into this launch attempt today. Fairly light liftoff winds trending between about 5 and 10 miles per hour is what is in the forecast issued yesterday. Solar activity has been in the headlines this week, having caused the scrub on Wednesday of the New Glenn launch attempt, which, of course, as we saw yesterday, was successful, but had to let the impact of the trio of coronal mass ejections subside first. And then Blue Origin and United Launch Alliance were able to fly both of their rockets yesterday. SpaceX now has their turn up to bat with solar activity forecast to be a moderate risk here today. One other item of housekeeping, if you have a comment or question about this mission or otherwise just want to offer a little bit of support tonight, you can use the YouTube Super Chat feature. Not only will he be giving us some interesting things to talk about as we cruise on through the count, but he'll also be supporting what we do here at Spaceflight Now, and that, my friends, is always greatly appreciated. Channel member Joni marking 11 months with us at the mission specialist level. He says, "This is awesome. Thank you for the great streams." You're very welcome, Joni. Thank you for your ongoing support of these live streams and our other coverage. Also, thanks to Glenn A. A little bit more than 2 years now at 25 months, saying, "Hello, Will, Stephen, and the mods." Our thanks as well to channel member Chris Chin for $20 super chat. Really appreciate that generosity, Chris. Bill in Lauderdale with a $5 super chat saying, "Go Spaceflight Now, go the best mods ever, and go SpaceX." And K2 Hat with a $2 super chat, checking in from Miko, Florida. Time now, T minus 45 minutes, 50 seconds and counting. As we approach the point in the count where the SpaceX launch director is going to need to make a call on the start of prop load, let's go ahead and talk about the countdown timeline. These are the nominal sequence of events that we're looking forward to ahead of a good launch of this Falcon 9 rocket tonight. As you're just mentioning, things will kick off with the call that they're ready to go with the start of prop load. After that, SpaceX will start to load RP-1, rocket-grade kerosene on board the Falcon 9's first and second stages. At the same time, liquid oxygen will begin to flow on board the rocket's first stage. 30 minutes out, they begin to load a cryogenic helium onto the pressure vessels for the Falcon 9's first stage, and they'll do the same on the second stage a few minutes after that. That helium is important because it's used to pressurize the main tanks during flight. T minus 23 minutes, second stage RP-1 loading wraps up. Then at T minus 20 minutes and 50 seconds is when the strong back chill down begins. This is when SpaceX is thermally conditioning the feed lines there at the pad prior to second stage LOX load. Here at Launch Complex 39A, we'll see this visually manifest as the so-called big vent at about T minus 20 minutes and 30 seconds. That venting will last about 4 minutes in duration, setting up for that LOX to start flowing at the 16-minute mark. Moving right along, T minus 7 minutes is when the chill down of the 9 Merlin engines gets underway. That's when SpaceX starts to flow a little bit of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps, helping to protect those engines from the risk of thermal shock and damage during startup. T minus 6 minutes, the first stage kerosene tank is full. And at T minus 4.5 minutes is when the strong back retract sequence begins. First, the clamp arms just beneath the payload fairings open up. And then the transporter erector, otherwise referred to as the strong back, will recline a few degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket, stay in that position until liftoff. At that point, it'll pull back in a much more rapid fashion to clear the way for the vertical climb of the Falcon 9. 3 minutes out is when the first stage LOX tank is full. Same is true on the second stage, about a minute after that, at which point the Falcon 9 rocket is fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. In the final 60 seconds, as we hear the call that the Falcon 9 has entered into its automated startup, control of the countdown is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers, and the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. SpaceX launch director will then give their go for launch call at T minus 45 seconds. The engine ignition command is issued at T minus 3 seconds, and if all 9 Merlin engines are healthy and ignite as expected, the command will be given for the hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9 rocket for a T0 liftoff. For this mission, currently targeting at 10:08 p.m. Eastern, 03:08 UTC, or just shy of 42 minutes from now. Time now T minus 39 minutes, 56 seconds and counting. As we're approaching the point in which the SpaceX launch director will make the call on the start of prop load. I want to thank our friends Chuck and Jen Briggs with C&J Images who are joining us for tracking assistance tonight. We'll also be joined a little bit later in the program by our friend Pete Karstens with Max Q Productions. Big thanks as always to our photography team. We've got Adam out working hard, making sure all the cameras are in place and in focus ahead of both of these launches tonight. John Pisani is off for this first launch at least. You can follow all of our photographers at their handles here on X. Adam is at Aburn NYC. Michael is at MD Kane Jr. John is at John Pisani Photo. Be sure to follow Spaceflight Now simply at Spaceflight Now on X. You can also find us on Threads, Blue Sky, and Facebook as well. Approaching T minus 37 minutes. I want to thank one of our moderators and channel members, Jeff Hansen, for a $10 super chat. Thank you, Jeff, who says, go Kennedy, go SpaceX, go Falcon 9, go Starlink, Godspeed 1092. B1092 is the tail number for the booster that is flying on today's mission. It will be making its 8th trip to space and back. We'll go over its booster history in just a little bit. For now, we are less than 2 minutes away from the start of fueling for this Falcon 9 flight, assuming that the go-ahead for tanking was in fact given. Also, thanks to Carol689 for a $2 super chat. Who says, hoping to see from Estero. We'll talk more about trajectory in a little bit, but broadly speaking, just to let you all know, this rocket will be flying on a southeasterly trajectory once it departs the launch pad here tonight. It's a lookout over at Space Launch Complex 40, the rocket that's going to be flying later this evening. Liftoff for this mission is 1:21 a.m. Eastern as things currently stand. Now T minus 35 minutes and counting. At this point, assuming the go-ahead for fueling was issued, as it appears is the case, SpaceX is now tanking its Falcon 9 rocket. We'll be watching for signs of fueling in the next few minutes. What we're watching for is near the base of the Falcon 9 rocket. If you see where the strong back, which is the large white truss structure in the foreground of the camera shot here, where that starts to taper in, it's at that point in the booster where we should start to see a frost line form as the super cold densified liquid oxygen begins to flow on board the rocket's first stage. And we are starting to see that frost line form on the booster as expected. A little bit of vapor near the base of the strong back as well. Good visual indications that SpaceX is in fact tanking its Falcon 9 rocket and therefore locking in that T0 for this first launch in the overnight hours at 10:08 p.m. Eastern, 03:08 UTC. Just about 30 minutes now remaining in the countdown ahead of the launch of this Falcon 9 rocket. If you're just now joining us, you're watching Spaceflight Now's live coverage of the Starlink 6-89 mission. Certainly appreciate the more than 2,200 of you who are watching along with us live here today. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor just by clicking that like button and sharing the stream, allowing some more folks to find their way into our live launch coverage. Just about 27 minutes remaining in this countdown tonight. At this point, SpaceX is loading a cryogenic helium onto the pressure vessels for the Falcon 9's first stage, and will do so on the second stage in the next minute or so. Talking about the payload that is on board tonight's Falcon 9 rocket, 29 Starlink satellites. This is the 105th Starlink launch of the year. SpaceX flying its optimized version of the V2 minis, which are considerably lighter than the predecessors. With their solar panels unfurled, they have a wingspan of about 100 feet or 30 meters. They still use those Argon Hall effect thrusters for in-orbit maneuvering. They were built up in Redmond, Washington, which is near Seattle, and they'll be deployed at about 168 miles or 271 kilometers in altitude at a 43-degree inclination. Time now T minus 23 minutes, 15 seconds and counting. As SpaceX is preparing to perform the chill down ahead of loading liquid oxygen on board the rocket's second stage. Let's keep things focused on the booster here for the next couple of minutes and talk about the flight history of B-1092, which made its first flight back in February of this year, supporting the launch of the Starlink 12-13 mission. That was followed up in March with a launch for the National Reconnaissance Office, the NROL 69 flight. A cargo run to the International Space Station was up next on April 21st, CRS 32. Then the flight of a GPS satellite was next up for this booster on May 30th. That was GPS 3 Space Vehicle number 8. The next GPS spacecraft to launch, GPS actually 9 and 10, will both be launched by United Launch Alliance on their Vulcan rocket. Batch of Starlink satellites was flight number 5, Starlink 10-34 on June 28th. Another national security mission for this booster was the USSF-36 mission, which carried the X-37B space plane manufactured by Boeing, which is currently still on orbit. Most recently was the Starlink 10-61 mission on September 27th. That brings us up to this evening, where in just about 21 minutes, we'll see the launch of Starlink 6-89. And in just about 20 seconds will be the start of the big vent. And the big vent is underway. This will last about 4 minutes in duration. Just about 17 minutes left on the countdown ahead of the liftoff of this Falcon 9 rocket. 30 seconds remaining in this vent. Taking a quick look at our live chat here, I want to thank the 3,700 plus of you who are watching along with us live. Also want to welcome in a couple new channel members here. Welcome aboard to LH15, joining us with membership at the pad leader level. Tom B 420, marking 1 month with us at the pad leader level as the big vent just wraps up here. Tom says, another nice night from Lakeland. Bridget Schultz upgrading their membership to the mission specialist level. Really appreciate that, Bridget. United Nations Space Command has been a member with us now for 27 months. Says, can we get a round of applause for the amazing moderators of this wonderful channel? They deserve it. Thank you, Spaceflight Now team, for the amazing coverage. I have been here 27 months now and am not disappointed. Well, we are certainly not disappointed that you've stuck with us for 27 months and counting. Speaking of counting, we are counting past the 16-minute mark in this progress towards liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket, meaning SpaceX is now loading liquid oxygen on board the rocket's upper stage. Want to quickly thank Chuck Close, one of our channel members, for a $25 super chat. Thank you, Chuck. Good to see you this evening again. And thanks to Peter Greenwell for the super chat, saying we are on a cruise ship, or on the cruise ship Apex, heading towards port. Hopefully you've got clear skies over you, Peter. Tell all the folks in the vicinity to head to the top deck or to the balcony. Make sure they've got a good view looking towards Port Canaveral. And if they don't already have the Spaceflight Now live stream up, you can tell them that that's a good way for them to keep tabs on the mission before it launches. Speaking of keeping tabs on things, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button beneath this video, now is a great time to do so, as we, of course, do have one more launch for you after this is done and dusted for tonight. That is the launch of the Starlink 6-85 mission from SpaceX's other Florida pad, that being Space Launch Complex 40. We'll have dedicated live coverage of that mission separately. So if you turn on notifications and make sure you're subscribed, you'll be alerted when we're about to start our live coverage, which will begin 1 hour prior to liftoff, currently set for 1:21 a.m. Eastern, 0621 UTC. Time now T minus 13 minutes and counting, as we're getting ready to see this Falcon 9 rocket depart. Let's talk a little bit about where this Falcon 9 rocket is going to be flying once it leaves the pad. Let's talk a little trajectory tonight. After lifting off from Historic Launch Complex 39A, Falcon 9 rocket will be flying on a southeasterly trajectory. as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast. Following stage separation, the first stage booster B-1092 will target a touchdown on the SpaceX drone ship called a shortfall of gravitas. Assuming all goes well with this flight tonight, this will be the 132nd good landing on this particular drone ship and the 533rd good booster landing to date for SpaceX. The company is also interested in recovering the payload fairings. The fairing halves will splash down in the waters of the Atlantic Ocean under the support of steerable parachutes a little bit further downrange from where the booster lands on the drone ship. Once down in the water, fairing halves will be brought aboard a recovery vessel and then brought back to Port Canaveral, where they will be turned over to the Hangar X site, ready for refurbishment ahead of future missions. With 10 minutes remaining on the clock, just taking a quick peek back at our live chat here. So we've got Wade Hampton checking in from Kingsley Lake, Florida. Got Tampa and Indian Harbor Beach with us tonight. Let us know where you're watching from, whether you're here with us in the Sunshine State or further. Always great to see where our global audience is joining us from. Looks like we've got South Carolina here. Plenty of folks in Florida. I've got Vancouver. Got Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. Wisconsin, New Smyrna. Always good to see where everyone is checking in from. Speaking of checking, we're just about 9 minutes now from the departure of this Falcon 9 rocket. Checking out on the timeline, that means in roughly 2 minutes, SpaceX will start the chill down of those 9 Merlin engines at the base of the booster. That involves flowing a small amount of liquid oxygen through them, the plumbing and turbo pumps to protect the engines from thermal shock and damage during startup. Want to thank Virginia Pruitt for a $10 super chat. Thank you, Virginia. Thanks to Space Pony as well for gifting a Spaceflight Now membership. Appreciate the generosity. To our newest gifted member, welcome aboard. Glad to have you with us. If you haven't already, be sure to thank Space Pony in the live chat, and we hope you decide to stick around with channel membership beyond the month you were just gifted. Mariana, Texas, another channel member with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much. She says, go SpaceX, go Falcon 9, go Spaceflight now. Wayne Ballard with a very generous $20 super chat. Thank you, Wayne. Says, captain of my ship saw me watching y'all's live of yesterday's Blue Origin launch. Had to plug that I've only watched y'all since I moved to the Canaveral area, and that y'all's website launch schedule is elite. That is very high praise, Wayne. Thank you so much for the kind words, and we hope to live up to that elite status every day. Justin Padron with a $2 super chat. Saying go SpaceX. Watching from Daytona Beach, Florida. 7 minutes on the clock remaining. Coming up in about 1 minute, the RP-1 tank, that rocket grade kerosene on the Falcon 9's first stage, should reach flight levels. About a minute after that, we should be getting pad level views and mission audio coming in from SpaceX as well. Just under 5 minutes now, we should be getting, yep.
And
Got
telemetry track has started.
pad level views and mission audio coming in from SpaceX now. Just a little more than 4 minutes remaining on the clock. Oh, momentarily, you'll see those clamp arms just beneath the payload fairings open up. There they go. First one in motion. Second one should be coming momentarily. Shortly, we'll see the strong back recline away from the Falcon 9 rocket. Pulls back just a few degrees away from the vehicle ahead of liftoff. Then at T0, it'll pull back in a much more rapid fashion. In about 30 seconds, we should hear a call that the first stage liquid oxygen tank has reached flight levels. Three minutes and counting.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
Good call there. We should hear a similar call regarding second stage LOX load at about the 2 minute mark. just under 2 minutes now.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
With that call, the Falcon 9 rocket is fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. The venting you're seeing right now are the ground gas closeouts. So we're approaching the final minute before flight.
Ground gas closeout has started.
Good call there. We're approaching T-minus 1 minute, at which point we'll hear a call that the Falcon 9 is entering into its automated startup sequence. T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
With that call, we're just awaiting the SpaceX launch director to confirm that they are in fact go for launch.
LD, go for launch.
With that confirmation, we're a little more than 30 seconds away from liftoff of this Falcon 9 rocket. "15 seconds. And here we go in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engine ignition and liftoff. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket on the Starlink 6-89 mission. Falcon 9 has cleared the towers.
Vehicle is pitching downrange. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal. Power and torque are nominal. Vehicle is supersonic. Max Q.
Little more than a minute into the flight of the Falcon 9 rocket on the Starlink 6-89 mission. As you just heard, a vehicle passed through max Q, which is the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the rocket. Coming up next, we should hear a call for MVAC chill, the thermal conditioning of the Merlin vacuum engine on the rocket's second stage.
Stage 2 engine chill.
Good confirmation of engine chill. SpaceX is coming up to a few events in fairly rapid succession next. We'll see first stage main engine cutoff, or MECO, at about T+2 minutes and 24 seconds. That'll be followed by stage separation and then the ignition of the Merlin vacuum engine. The payload fairings will jettison just before the 3-minute mark in flight.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
Stage 2 startup.
Approaching 3 minutes into flight, we should see fairing separation momentarily. And there go the payload fairings.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Good call out, good visual with the onboard cameras. A little more than 3 minutes into flight now. Coming up, the next major milestone of this mission will be the start of the 3-engine entry burn. That's set to begin just a little more than 6 minutes into this flight.
Both vehicles are on nominal trajectories.
Good confirmation of a nominal trajectory. If you look at the telemetry data in between the two boxes on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the booster B1092 is still continuing to climb. Hasn't quite reached its apogee in today's flight. Looks like it will top out at about 112 kilometers in altitude. Now starting to make its descent towards the drone ship, a short fall of gravitas. Got about a minute to go before the start of the entry burn. As a reminder, don't peel away after booster touchdown. We'll have a look back at liftoff from all of our various camera perspectives with a nice little round robin of liftoff replays for you before we close things out with our mission stats. Less than 1 minute to the start of the entry burn. The start of the
entry burn startup.
entry
Stage
burn.
1 FTS is saved.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
With the entry burn now behind them,
Stage 2
SpaceX
FTS is saved.
turns to the single engine landing burn next. That landing
Stage
burn
1
is
transonic.
set to begin in less than a minute. Just about before the 8-minute mark is when we should see ignition.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And a good landing for B-1092, completing its 8th trip to space and back.
Seago.
Nominal insertion.
And with a good confirmation of a nominal orbit insertion, the upper stage will coast now until T plus 53 minutes and 54 seconds. There'll be a roughly 2-second burn on that upper stage engine to circularize its orbit. And then the Starlink satellites, all 29 of them, will be deployed at about T plus 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 1 second post liftoff. As a reminder, we're just getting our launch replays ready for you, so we'll come to those here in just a second. Taking a quick peek at our live chat, though. I want to thank a few more folks for your support tonight. Thanks to Lofty Landscapes for our very generous $20 super chat. Thank you, Lofty, who says very kindly, best commentator ever, great radio voice. Thank you for the kind words. Dean and Carmen checking in with a $10 super chat, saying thanks for your commentary. We enjoy it. Thank you for your support of the commentary and the coverage. Thanks as well to Alex Casson with a $5 super chat, saying go Spaceflight. Bill in Lauderdale back again, saying for the best mods ever, working on a Friday night. Thank you. Yes, this is our third launch covering as a team in the last 48 hours, with one more still to go before we can call it a night and get some shut-eye. Beverly Knuckles with a $20 super chat. Thank you, Beverly, for the support at that level. Who says, good Friday night from the British Virgin Islands. Also thanks to Mitchell Wilbur, another one of our channel members, with also a very generous $20 super chat. Thank you, Mitchell, who says, good job, Will, as usual. Shout out to all the mods and everyone that helps. Speaking of those who help, welcome aboard to Aaron Batch. Apologies, Aaron, but welcome to membership at the pad leader level. Glad to have you with us. And as we're just about ready for our launch replays, let's go ahead and turn in the interim to our mission stats as they currently stand. Tonight's launch was the 8th flight of Falcon 9 booster B-1092. This was SpaceX's 562nd Falcon 9 launch to date, the 145th of the year so far. This was SpaceX's 498th Falcon booster reflight, or the launch of a booster that has flown at least once. This was the company's 170th orbital launch within the last 365 days, the 121st from Pad 39A, and the 215th overall orbital launch from this pad as well. Here's a look at the bar chart of SpaceX launches year over year. Moving on to some recovery stats. A little bit of a change to this particular slide. You'll see here in just a moment. This was the 132nd good landing on the drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas. That marked SpaceX's 436th drone ship landing, its 533rd booster landing, and we can now add a new stat to this page. This was the 534th overall booster landing of an orbital class rocket. Adding this new stat since SpaceX now no longer the only company that has successfully landed its booster following an orbital launch. Again, congratulations to the folks at Blue Origin for a good recovery of the booster. Never tell me the odds, which will be making its way back to Port Canaveral in the coming days. Finally, with some industry stats tonight, this was the 97th orbital launch from Florida, the 154th from U.S. soil, the 168th from a U.S. rocket company, and the 264th orbital launch around the world. There have been 6 mishaps so far this year. Here's where the pie chart now currently stands. As a reminder, after we wrap things up here tonight, we do have one more launch to cover for you from here in Florida. Looking ahead to the launch of the Starlink 6-85 mission, which is set to depart from Space Launch Complex 40, excuse me, at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station at 1:21 a.m. Eastern, 0621 UTC. So we certainly hope to see you when we begin our live coverage of that an hour ahead of liftoff. For now, though, we've got those launch replays of this mission ready for you. So let's go ahead and take a spin. Start with the press site fixed view from Adam Bernstein. Moving on to the wide view. Shifting now to the turn basin. Now to the south tracker from Pete. And finally, going to our press site tracker. And that will go ahead and do it for our live coverage of the Starlink 6-89 mission. As a reminder, we're less than 3 hours away from the liftoff of SpaceX's next Falcon 9 rocket. That is the vehicle you see there at Space Launch Complex 40, set to depart T-minus 2 hours, 45 minutes, 24 seconds from now. We'll have dedicated live coverage of this mission right here on the YouTube channel, but on its own individualized stream. Before we go, want to thank a few more folks in the live chat here. Thanks to Janine, one of our channel members, who says, loving the launch replays. Spaceflight now is the best. Well, if you love launch replays, you'll be stoked by our 4K replay of the New Glenn NG2 mission, which we've got cooking right now for you. And that should be up on the channel in short order. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Spring Hill, Florida, checking in with the $5 super chat, saying great job, Spaceflight now. And channel member Paul Dutcher with a $10 super chat as well. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate the support tonight. And with that, want to thank our mods for now, to Mark Otto, Rick Donner, Jeff Hansen, and Astro Joe. Thanks for hanging out on this stream. Thanks as well to channel member Cumulus Granatus. Big thanks to our friends P. Carsons with Max Q Productions, Chuck and Jen Briggs with C&J Images, to Adam Bernstein, our photographer. You can find his work at ABurnNYC over on X. Thanks as well to our Spaceflight Now editor, Stephen Young, for running the technical operations of the broadcast. Most importantly, though, thanks to you for wherever you've been watching from. Certainly appreciate your time and attention. And if you're able to stay up late with us, we'd love to see you back when we're covering the Starlink 6-85 flight in just a couple of hours from now. For all of us here at Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith. Remember, Be good to yourselves. Be good to others. We will see you next time, folks. And until then, bye-bye.